this is the President of the United States. Who is this? Is it you again?
Look behind you.
This is my private line. How did you get through?
They're everywhere. All the time. We see them every day. But you have to look behind you.
There is nothing behind me. How did you get this number?
The spaceman told me.
What spaceman?
It doesn't matter. They're telling you about monsters. Please, you must look behind you.
Young lady, there are no monsters in the Oval Office.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait,
the loudspeaker spoke up and said, give up, give up, give up, give up, give up.
Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Also, you can check us out by going to Facebook, where we update Facebook a lot. Some of the things we talk about on the show, Facebook gets updated if we bring a picture on, or some detail that needs to be seen. Have your computer ready, because we will be putting it on Facebook. Some of the things you see on Facebook are, of course, Paranoia Magazine. A new Paranoia Magazine is out available to you. All you got to do is just go to paranoiamagazine.com or go to the Facebook page and hit the link. Also, my book's available, Writing the Shockwave. It's available on Amazon.com, and we really would be excited if you decided to pick up those books or pick up Paranoia. In fact, my Paranoia magazine I carry with me on the train, and everybody goes, "Whoa, that's amazing! What is that?" I go, "It's Paranoia Magazine, the official magazine of Ground Zero," I say. Which reminds me, today when I was waiting for the train, weirdest experience, kind of a synchronistic experience. So I took the train today. I happen to go to, I go between two different train stations because I live in between two stations. I live right between one station that's known as the Sunset Transit Station, and I go to another station called the Milliken Way Station. Now, the Milliken Way Station is in a nicer part of town. If you go to the Sunset Transit Center, there's this big concrete, train station. It's, it goes through a tunnel and then you get into the station. It's almost like a subway. Not quite. It's a half subway and half above ground type thing. But I decided to go the way of the Milliken Station. And I went into the Milliken Station. I was standing there and I was on the phone. I was trying to call Janine on the phone, and I ended up calling my friend Sarah on the phone, woke her up, felt bad. But this guy was motioning to me to get off the phone and talk to him. So I glanced at him, and he looked like this really, just a slick, cool guy standing there. He's got glasses on. He's all well-dressed, everything. Man, this guy's probably an agent. He's here to kick my ass or something. I don't know. I was just thinking to myself, oh, my gosh, who is this guy? So I go up to him, and he goes, "You're Clyde Lewis." I go, "Yes, I am." And he goes, "Oh, my gosh." He holds out his hand. He shakes my hand. He says, "How you been?" I go, "I'm doing fine." And I go, "Good to see you. I love it when fans come up and say hello." Some of them give me that look like I know who that guy is. But some people just come up and they're not afraid. And they come and shake my hand, and I love it because I love talking to them about stuff. And this guy says to me, he says, "Hey, what do you know about Anthony Patch?" And I went, "What?" And he goes, "What do you know about Anthony Patch?" And I was a little worried because, well, I'll tell you why I was a little worried, because of, some circumstances with Mr. Patch that we kind of ironed out a few weeks ago, or actually a few months ago, where Mr. Patch was visited by a group of guys who were, well, I think two men that were MIBs that didn't want him to talk about CERN anymore, or a certain part of CERN, not the whole CERN thing. But I thought, this guy's another guy that wants to talk to me about this thing. I had another guy confront me at a Ground Zero University that we did, where we were talking about ghosts. This guy confronted me and he says, "What are your initials, Mr. Lewis?" And I gave my name initials, which are LCH. Those are my real initials, my birth initials, LCH, Lewis Clyde Holder H LCH. Clyde Lewis. This guy goes, no. He says, if you arrange them, LHC, what does that stand for? Large Hadron Collider. I go, oh, no, not another one. Not another guy. He's going to come and harass me about the Large Hadron Collider. But anyway, it was kind of funny because I said, well, Anthony Patch is going to be on the show tonight. Really? I thought he died. I go, no. The rumors of his demise are highly exaggerated. We had him on the show a while back when he was first reported that he had died, because what had happened is they thought the Men in Black came and murdered him. And he took down his site. He said he wasn't going to talk about CERN anymore. And after talking to him, I found it's not that he doesn't want to talk about CERN anymore, that he's told that he can't talk about CERN anymore. Certain aspects of CERN that he talked about at the Ground Zero University. Certain things he said on the show that we were thinking he may say again. We don't know. We've been discussing this. And there's no stopping Anthony Patch. So, he's that guy that, at first I feel the same way he does. When my car was blown up in 1996 or 1995, I can't remember anymore. When my car was blown up, man, I tell you, I was afraid to talk about anything because I didn't know why they blew up my car. Come to find out it was because of the fact I had some picture that looked like an alien. It wasn't an alien, it really was a soldier in camo. They told me that it was some camo they were using to make these soldiers look invisible. And I was basically stepping on some toes, letting out some secrets on the internet I shouldn't. And the internet was in its infancy, so I don't know what they were bothered about, but they were bothered that it was going to get out and it was going to be all kinds of craziness. Now it's out in the open, no longer classified, so I'm not going to be harassed anymore. But anyway, so tonight, I got to tell you, right off the bat, Anthony Patch is going to be here later. And pretty soon, I hope, because it's going to be a good show with him. One of the mysteries that has the buzz on the internet, and this is why we're bringing Patch on, is because when you type in tomorrow's date of 9/23/2015 or September 23rd, 2015 into Google Maps, the computer will direct you to a place near Geneva, Switzerland, of course, and we all know where that is. If you magnify the little pin on there, you realize that you have landed at the headquarters of the LHC at CERN. It's also interesting to note that when you type in the name Anthony Patch, you also land at CERN in Switzerland. It used to be if you type my name in, you'd land at CERN as well. Now, you type my name in, it goes to some magazine headquarters, About Face magazine, because they did it was a fashion magazine, they did this whole story on me, and no one knew why I was in a fashion magazine. Maybe it's because I am so well at picking out clothing. Black. Because there's no other darker color, I wear black. That's how it goes. But anyway, according to CERN Truth, I was looking at CERN Truth today. I was looking at a number of things that they had written, that they've been writing about what's happening with the Large Hadron Collider. And everybody's worried about tomorrow because it's the equinox, and this is where we've, the autumn here. It's the autumnal. Can I say that? The autumnal equinox tomorrow at 1:20 in the morning. So after I get off the air, go home, get ready to go to sleep, it'll already be spring. Or no, I want it to be spring. It'll already be winter or autumn. There we go. It'll be autumn. Got my seasons all screwed up tonight for some reason. Autumnal equinox, meaning 6 hours of daylight and 6 hours of nighttime. Equal equinox. Standing eggs on their heads. I think you can do that in the autumn as well as the spring. I'm not sure. I heard that you can do that. I don't know if it's a myth, but something like that. Well, according to CERN Truth, it's an organization that reports what is happening at the Large Hadron Collider. We're looking at some really interesting things going on. Anthony Patch, when he first appeared on Ground Zero, he kind of agrees with what CERN Truth was saying, but he broke the mold, and then we have CERN Truth telling it too. It says, well, I was reading CERN Truth today, and I remembered what Anthony had warned us about. He said that by the fall of 2015, namely the beginning of the autumnal equinox, which conveniently falls tomorrow, September 23rd, 2015, CERN will begin colliding groups of 70 million lead hadrons at 287 TeV, unpacking millions of quarks in each collision. Now, as I said, today I was comparing notes with what Anthony had said on the program back in May, and what is happening with the Large Hadron Collider. Those quarks, by the way, will be first accelerated at light speed, acquiring relativistic mass, becoming heavier strange quarks. The substance of a strange quark gluon soup called strangelet, or strangelets. And the strange liquid has the potential to become stable and start an ice-9 Big Bang reaction. If that happens, that effectively transforms the Earth into a pulsar. And you don't want that. We don't want the Earth to turn into a pulsar, but that can happen. Because they're, as they would say in the movie Spinal Tap, they're cranking it to 11. Because it sounds better at 11. We're going to 11. In late 2008, when CERN was first firing up the engines on its atom-smashing machine, Otto Rossler, a German professor at the University of Tübingen, filed a lawsuit against CERN, CERN is the European nuclear group. What he did is he went to the European Court of Human Rights, filed a lawsuit against CERN on the grounds that the facility could trigger a mini black hole that could get out of control and annihilate the planet. Now, this resonated with me because I'm thinking to myself, hey, if we turn into a pulsar, it happens so fast we can't even say, we can't even swear. We see the big, that's it. Twinkling of an eye, we're gone. We're in another world. We're probably not even in a world. We're just completely iced over, or we're completely, vaporized. And so that was the worry of Otto Rossler, who filed a complaint or filed a lawsuit against CERN. The court tossed out Rossler's request, but nevertheless, he succeeded in generating a heated discussion on the possible dark side of CERN, dark side of Large Hadron Collider, and what it does and what its purpose is. Now, while CERN adamantly denies to the public that the press has been saying things, they just deny everything the press has said. They want to say to you that everything's going to be fine. And everything's been fine. Okay, I guess. I mean, it's relatively fine. I don't know. I don't know much about what they mean fine is, because we have had a few things that have been kind of out of the ordinary since they've been firing up. But they haven't been firing it up like they said they were going to. Tomorrow, though, they're going to be ramping up the engines a little bit hotter and a little bit higher. And in reality, it's going to be a full thrust. But here's the deal. While we all say that tomorrow's going to be the big day for the full thrust and then everything's going to go wrong, which it may, I don't know. November and December are the times for the fireworks, because that's going to be huge then. But it's going to be big tomorrow, too. And throughout the rest of the month. That is, if we have the rest of the month to see. I don't want to do any fear porn here, but CERN scares the hell out of me. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Anthony Patch will be up pretty soon, so stay tuned. We'll be back with more. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
FM News 101 KXL.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and you're listening to Ground Zero. CERN adamantly denies to the public and the press the production of strangelets as possible. It runs a program called CASTOR. It's the Centauro and the Centauro and Strangelets Object Research, whose researchers affirm in their inner reports to the company the likely probability of creating them. This is in accordance with the most advanced literature on the subject, but of course, it must be hidden to the public and the naive press. A simple fact, CERN is just a quark cannon that deconfines and gives heavier mass to quarks, transforming them into the next horizon of heavy mass. Strange quarks which eat up planets might seem amazing to the reader and to the listener and everybody else, but submitted, we have rhetoric of research and the blatant lies of CERN. They are a leftover Cold War refurbished type of newspeak research organization, and that is what they're giving us now, is newspeak. But the bottom line here is this. CERN says its experiments are similar to cosmic rays. Another falsehood. It is not. The CERN collider is composed of some 9,600 supermagnets, which are 100,000 times more powerful than the gravitational pull of the Earth. 100,000 times more powerful than the gravitational pull of this planet. They fire protons around a circular track going at mind-boggling speeds. A beam might rotate for up to 10 hours, traveling a distance of more than 10 billion kilometers, enough to make it to the far reaches of our solar system and back again. Traveling just below light speed, a proton in the Large Hadron Collider will make 11,245 circuits every second. 11,245 revolutions per second. That's fast. You probably don't even see it move because it's going so fast. No less amazing are the magnet's coils, which are made up of 36 twisted 15-millimeter strands, each strand comprised of 6,000 to 9,000 single filaments, each filament possessing a diameter as small as 7 micrometers. The 27-kilometer length of the Large Hadron Collider demands some 7,600 kilometers. That's 4,100 miles of cable, which amounts to about 270,000 kilometers or 145,000 miles of strand. More than enough to circle the Earth 6 times at the equator. And according to the CERN website, if the filaments were unraveled, they would stretch to the sun and back 5 times with enough left over for a few trips to the moon. That's a lot of stuff right there. The pull upon the Earth is obviously extraordinary. Some say that one false move could split the Earth in two. The pressure and heat combined is extraordinary. There has to be a temperature created in the collider that is more than 100,000 times the temperature at the center of the sun. This will be achieved. CERN says it'll be achieved by accelerating and colliding together 2 beams of heavy ions. So far, ion collisions have been successful. However, now the power is going to be turned up. Like the expression in the movie Spinal Tap, as I said before, they're going to take it to 11, and they're going to do that, and they're going to go far beyond that now. So what we got going on now are intensity ramp-ups at CERN, and they began on the 10th of September with full power, beaming on with what they're calling special physics. That runs on the 23rd and 24th, although the Internet believes that the 23rd of September is the date to watch for trouble or even some sort of extinction-level event at CERN. The real fireworks will be in November and December when the protons are swapped for heavier mass ions of lead, and some watchdogs are speculating that this may be the time where scientists will achieve their goal of maintaining enough power to stabilize any connection to another dimension. This is not science fiction. This is fact. According to Einstein's general theory of relativity, any large amounts of matter or energy will distort the space and time that surrounds it. If the energy or mass is large enough, it is claimed that time can be distorted so much that it folds back on itself, creating a wormhole or time tunnel between the present and the future. Now, what Einstein called this, he called it a Rosen bridge. We've talked about Rosen bridges before on this program. They're wormholes, and they've been proven to be true. If the power stabilizes and the Rosen bridge can be achieved, then who knows what or who can come through this wormhole. That's the scary part. What or who? Because they are saying that they want to be able to maintain and stabilize a wormhole. They could open up a dimension to the other side. Now, people laugh at this and say, oh, Clyde, come on. But no, that's what the site. I went to CERN's website today, and they say right on their website that this is what they desire. This is exactly what they want. They want to be able to stabilize a wormhole long enough to send something through it or to have something come through. And that's when things get a little spooky. Coming up on Ground Zero, Anthony Patch will be with us to discuss this more, and we'll ask him some questions about what happened to him when he was told not to speak and what he couldn't and what he could speak about. And maybe we will still speak about it. Who knows? Right here on Ground Zero. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700, and we'll be back.
Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
Man's constant flowing from the endless reaches of time, brings to light many startling things. Startling because they seem new, sudden. But most are not new to the science of the ages.
We're getting into. This window is not just some weapon of blunt force, all right? Everything in the past is connected. Every moment, every event, it all adds up to this reality that we call the present. Can we use this window to alter history? Absolutely. But we're manipulating nature in its most fragile state.
In these particle experiments, we're recreating the big experiment that nature did just after the Big Bang. Nothing untoward came out of that. Nothing untoward is going to come out of these experiments. Makes great science fiction, great entertainment, great television. But on this, we can sleep easy.
Create a black hole inside the particle accelerator. However, they claim that this type of black hole would be incredibly small and evaporate extremely quickly. But despite these reassurances, the experiment will take place in a machine called the particle accelerator. The particle is collided at nearly the speed of light in an attempt to recreate the conditions at the beginning of the universe, also known as the Big Bang.
Science is but an organized system of ignorance. There are more things in heaven and on earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy. What do we know about the beyond? Do we know what's behind the beyond? I'm afraid some of us hardly know what's beyond the behind.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and you're listening to Ground Zero. Tonight, what is going to happen at CERN tomorrow? Well, this type of thing has been going on for centuries. Now, I know that, something like the Large Hadron Collider hadn't been invented in the 14th century. But between the years of 1582 and 1589, the English scholar John Dee conducted a series of ritual communications with a set of discarnate entities who eventually came to be known as the Enochian Angels. Now, what the Enochian Angels conveyed to Dee was not merely a potent form of magic to rule the tutelary spirits of the nations. It was an initiatory formula designed to open the locked gates of the four great watchtowers known as the Axis Mundi that stand guard against the chaos at the extreme areas of our universe. The watchtowers were described by the angel that Dee identified as Ave. The four houses, according to Ave, are the four angels of the earth, which are the four overseers and watchtowers that the eternal God in his providence hath placed against the usurping blasphemy, misuse, and stealth of the wicked and the great enemy, the devil, to the intent that being put out to the earth, his envious will might be bridled, the determinations of God fulfilled, and his creatures kept and preserved within the compass and measure of the order. These watchtowers represented in Enochian magic by alphabetical squares. They were equivalent to the four mystical pillars of Egyptian mythology that hold up the sky and keep it from crashing to earth. Some people call them the Jed. And, of course, we've talked about the Axis Mundi. They are the guardian centers that hold the galaxy together. These pillars are crucial to opening a gate to the hosts of the fourth dimension. Now, it was Dee's plan to use the complex system of magic communicated by the angels to advance the expansionist policies of his sovereign, which is Queen Elizabeth I. With the aid of fellow occult researcher Edward Kelly, he planned to open a portal to the other side by using the lower keys of Enoch. a magical alphabet that was sung. Now, he was singing these notes and tones, intoning the idea of these angels coming through. There were certain symbols and shapes that were represented by the different tones and phonetics that had to be sung a certain way in order to communicate with these beings, kind of like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where they had to play a sequence of dun, 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 dun in order to get the aliens to communicate. Same thing with the Enochian angels. It was a combination of phonetic tones and shapes, and they were used to open what was called a gate to the stars, a stairway to heaven or Stargate. The Stargate, of course, now we know, is the Rosen Bridge wormhole. It's an opening where these beings could travel through into our existence. Now, these dimensional portals, in theory, would be able to allow for the transportation of beings from other dimensions into our dimension. When NASA's Gravity Probe B returned from its 7-year orbit, it proved there's a space-time vortex that exists around the Earth, just like Einstein theorized. The Einstein-Rosen Bridge is a geometrical property of a black hole that manifests itself in that on the other side of the black hole, another set of dimensions has been attached to one form in the middle of the universe. This makes passage through this bridge and hence into another universe, and this is all mathematically possible. Now, let me tell you what CERN website says. And I was doing the research today, which confirms everything that Anthony Patch has said. It says, in our everyday lives, we experience 3 spatial dimensions and a 4th dimension of time. How could there be more? Well, Einstein's general theory of relativity tells us that space can expand, contract, and bend. Now, if one dimension were to contract to the size smaller than an atom, it would be hidden from our view. But if we could look on a small enough scale, that hidden dimension might become visible again. Imagine a person walking on a tightrope. She can only move backward and forward, but not left and right, nor up or down. So she only sees one dimension. Ants living on a much smaller scale could move more around the cable in what could appear like an extra dimension to the light rope walker. So how do we test these extra dimensions? Well, one option would be to find evidence of particles that can exist only if extra dimensions are real. Theories that suggest extra dimensions predict that in the same way as atoms have a low-energy ground state and excited high-energy states, there would be a heavier version of the standard particles in other dimensions. CERN wants us to believe that they will be able to welcome entities or even living creatures from other dimensional planes. And what is also possible is that these beings could be nothing more than intelligences of light and frequency looking for a physical host for incarnation. Anthony Patch, who had his debut on Ground Zero, first reported his theories that CERN is attempting to reestablish an ancient connection that occurred during the time of John Dee and Edward Kelly. Now, he's in studio now, and we're going to get him on the microphone. Please welcome to Ground Zero, Anthony Patch. Hi, Anthony. Welcome back.
Hello, my friend. It's great to be back. Thank you for the invitation. You're always so gracious.
And the rumors of your death are highly exaggerated.
Unless you're mimicking my voice.
I can't do that.
I am a dummy. You can be my ventriloquist.
I'm not Phil Hendry. I can't do that. I'm not Phil Hendry. So we have to start off, first of all. I know I've been giving all this scientific psychobabble on the show to get people ready to know more about CERN and how
your research is spot on.
Well, thank you. I spent a lot of time having to think about this show because I learn more and more about CERN, and the more I learn about it, I get frightened. I get nervous, and it's just, it just bothers me that they're tampering with this. I mean, it's like, maybe if I studied the atom bomb a little more, maybe I'd be more frightened of the atom bomb. But we've had it in our lives for so long and we've never used it. It's something that we just take for granted. But this quark cannon, this weapon, this Cold War relic, this idea of it being something, that could kill us all, that's what really has me worried. And so, we have at awakenroots.com, there's a website called awakenroots.com, and you can go there and purchase 2 videos that Anthony had. We did something called Ground Zero University. We do that here in the Northwest. We are working on an idea of doing a Ground Zero University so we can invite everybody to fly to Portland and see it. And we're going to announce that. But we have these mini Ground Zero Universities, and Anthony spoke at least 2 of them about CERN. We had you appear at one, and it was fantastic. That video is available on Awaken Roots for a price. If you want to pay for it, it's there. You can watch it. It has a lot of great information in it. The second time we gathered together at a Presbyterian church, and we had a great turnout. It was a great turnout at this Ground Zero University, and you spoke about a number of things that were I guess what we're going to be talking about tonight a little bit.
Sure.
The future of CERN and how it goes beyond just the, particle physics idea. How it will be able to contribute to something called quantum entanglement and other things too. And we'll talk about that. But as you were speaking at this event, it went well. It was okay. We had a few people asking questions, and somebody commented that everybody there was coughing for some reason. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but
it was pretty hot.
It was pretty hot that day. So, okay, so you were up there giving your speech, and that's on the second video. So if you guys want to get the second video, it's available at awakenedroots.com. That's awakenedroots.com if you want to get the video. You were speaking at this church, and something happened, which frightened you. Tell us what happened.
Well, previous to that, for about a month, I had experienced an awful lot of what I call electronic harassment of all of my electronic devices, including my website. Following the event in the parking lot, I was approached by two gentlemen that we both had seen sitting in the far rear corner of the assembly, and they were dressed in suits and ties, which didn't fit with the temperature of the room we were experiencing. They approached me, and without extending their hands to shake my hand, as one would expect, they simply said, politely enough, "We like what you're saying, but please stop." That was the end of the conversation. I didn't say anything in response, and we parted ways. That evening, after putting up a notice on my Facebook pages, pulled my Facebook pages and my YouTube channel, which I felt was a prudent thing to do to protect my family. Within 3 days, all of the electronic harassment ceased and everything returned to normal. Mm-hmm. So I felt that message was received.
Well, yeah, that really had me worried, because of what happened to me that night.
Yeah, and I'd like you to tell that story if you feel comfortable.
I hope I can get through it. I didn't talk about this. I haven't really talked about it on the air all that much. But those two men approached me also. I was waiting for a ride to go have dinner because I hadn't eaten all day. We were there, and I hadn't eaten anything, and I needed to eat something because when you're dieting, you have to eat something, and
Oh, yeah.
So I was waiting for my friend to pick me up, and they came up to me and they said, "Hello, Mr. Lewis. Great show. Love your Ground Zero University. It's nice meeting you." And this one guy shook my hand, and he wouldn't let go of it. And I kept trying to pull away. He goes, "It's just so," and he was gripping my hand really, he was gripping it hard. So finally he did let go of it. I got in the car. I can't remember where I went and ate. I don't know where I went and ate. But I do remember, the next thing I remember was sitting in a Fred Meyer store, it's a department store, sitting on a bench in the store as they're closing, drooling and not being able to form sentences. I didn't know what was wrong with me. My friend Sarah then got help to put me in the car. They drove me to the nearest hospital, which was just nearby. It was about not even a mile away. They put me in the hospital. I was admitted in. I was kept overnight. They thought that maybe I was overdosed on some drug. They thought I was drugged. They didn't know what to do. And they also did a blood count on me. And I had a normal blood count for someone who's healthy is 40.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was 8. I had a blood count of 8, red blood cell count of 8. And they didn't know what was wrong. They said that they immediately gave me a blood transfusion. And I was in the hospital for a day, and then I got out. But the idea of going into a hospital situation after my Ground Zero University, I knew nothing of your situation.
Right. We didn't talk.
No, we didn't say anything. And so when I heard that you had pulled, I didn't even know why. And I didn't even suspect anything about me, only that I went to the hospital, and when they said your blood red blood's down to 8,
mm-hmm.
I was like, whoa. Because I said, what's normal? And they said, well, most people can function at 14. You're at 8, and we don't know how you're doing it, but you're here, and you couldn't speak, you couldn't talk, you had your eyes halfway open. So something happened to me that night. Something that happened to you, something that happened to me. And I don't know exactly what we did. I don't know exactly what I said or did to deserve that kind of treatment, but I did. And I saw that you pulled everything, and then I didn't pursue that because I figured it was something that you wanted to keep private, and I just asked you if maybe we should talk about it, and we didn't. We kept it on the down low until before it's news reported that you had been killed. But and I said, whoa, this can't be true. So we're going to leave it at that story. That what happens is that there was a story that was released that Anthony Patch was killed, and that his website was down, and that people are silencing him. And so we're going to talk about what happened after that, and more about CERN and more about tomorrow, because people are worried about whether or not tomorrow is going to be doomsday, because CERN's going to fire up. They're going to fire the huge power. They're going to fire big, though. It's right. Still something to think about. Anthony Patch with us tonight on Ground Zero. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
This is Ground Zero on FM News 101.
I'm Clyde Lewis. Anthony Patch with us tonight on Ground Zero. Telling us harrowing story what happened after Ground Zero University talking about CERN, and was told not to talk about it anymore. I announced that, by the way. And you know, when you announce that somebody is being silenced, you get a lot of mixed reviews. You know, people want you to basically fly in the face of death, fly in the face of ridicule, and they tell you, oh, you're backing down, you know, don't let the bastards grind you down and stuff. But they don't realize that, you know, people who stick their neck out, it's a thankless job.
It is.
And they would rather watch somebody die. I mean, it's not like Gary Webb. You know, Gary Webb accidentally fell into something, and then he was completely blackballed by his compatriots, his comrades, friends. He lost his credibility because they came after him, and then eventually died. Whether it was suicide or something else, he died. Exposing, you know, the messenger exposes something, and then we're expected to fall on our swords for people who will forget our names in about 15 minutes. There are things that I've said on the air that have gotten me threats from certain agencies, but it's more or less an agreement. Not that you won't say anything, but the idea is, many times I've said, well, I've been told not to say this or talk about it. But the reason why I don't talk about it is because I've said enough. Mm-hmm. And if you want to go back and listen to what I've said, they're not asking me to take any of that down. They just don't want me to talk about it anymore. And so,
pretty much the same situation with me.
Right. You said enough, and you don't really have to say anything more than what you've said. So the message has been delivered. If you deliver more of what they said not to say, then that's when you're putting your life in jeopardy. But in the meantime, you can still talk about CERN.
Sure.
And there are many things you can talk about, and there are many ways you can get around talking about what they told you not to talk about, too.
That's correct.
You find a loophole in everything. I've done that many times when I've said, hey, I've been told to shut up about something, but I'll find a way to talk about it indirectly. And people have to read between the lines and understand what I'm trying to say. Because when you're in this type of business, you have to sometimes, you know, talk with loopholes and kind of metaphorically express what you're trying to say without sounding like you're being told, or you're just basically clamming up because you've been told to.
Right.
So in the next hour, Anthony, we've heard the harrowing story about how you were told to stop speaking of CERN. But in the next hour, we're going to talk about CERN.
Wonderful.
Because we've talked about your experience, my experience, and now we're going to fly in the face of whomever to tell the story about a different angle that most people aren't talking about when we're talking about CERN. So, Anthony Patch with us tonight on Ground Zero. Phone calls tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. More to come. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
Spinning complacently in the darkness, covered and blinded by a blanket of living lives. False security has lulled the madness of this world into a slumber. Wake up, and eyes upon you, staring straight down and keenly through. See all that you are, and
ready to go.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Sammy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Sammy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Sammy.
give up, give up, give up, give up, give up.
Wait, Sammy. Wait, Sammy. Wait, Sammy.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. Tonight, Anthony Patch is with us, and after he made the statement that he wouldn't speak about CERN after he was visited by two men who told him not to talk about it. Although after talking with him and discussing what exactly was said to him, there were certain key parts of what CERN is doing that he couldn't talk about. However, that doesn't mean that I can't talk about them. And I won't come right out and talk about them, but if you want to read, you'll find out maybe something that I've written about. And we won't tell you what it is, because if I did, then Anthony would be in trouble, but the information is getting out somehow. And it may get out by me, and you never know, because I do that kind of thing. My friend has called me and said, don't fly in the face of whatever tonight. I'm saying, I'll try and do my best not to be a wise ass. But,
or to make yourself a target.
Right. And we're going to be very, well, the angle we're taking tonight, though, with CERN is, I don't know if we really push this issue. And that is the John D. Edward Kelly issue, the Enochian angel issue, the contacting beings from the other dimension issue. That's 14th century magic right there. 20th century magic would be the Babylon working. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Where L. Ron Hubbard and Jack Parsons, through ritual, wanted to bring something, a fallen one or a fallen angel or something, through a doorway. And we were discussing something during the break that had me kind of freaked out. CERN is, well, they're firing up their principal. Well, they started on the 10th, so they're ramping up now.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll be, what, at medium TeV by tomorrow?
They'll be at 13 tera electron volts.
Okay, so we get 13 TeV tomorrow. They're heading for 17, and that's probably where they're going to hit it in November, correct?
Well, they're going to go to 14 plus.
Okay. I thought 17.
Yeah.
CERN Truth says it's going to be even higher than that, but that's, give or take, it's still too much.
Sure.
Okay. So as they're ramping this up, and as people have this fear of September 23rd, 2015, and if you type September 23rd, 2015, it takes you to CERN on the Google map. You would type in Anthony Patch, it takes you to CERN on the Google map. We know that. I tried that today. Anthony Patch goes to CERN. So they're going to be firing this up where you have said, and this is where we're going tonight with this. You have said that what CERN is trying to do is establish or reestablish an ancient connection that occurred during the time of John D. and Ed Kelly, maybe even Aleister Crowley.
Mm-hmm.
Where Crowley even attempted to contact, and he succeeded allegedly, contacting Lamb and Iwas.
Right, to a limited degree.
Yeah, two alien beings that we say are alien because they look like aliens.
Mm-hmm.
They could be secret chiefs, they could be homunculi, who knows what they are. Okay, that's just crazy. So many people will say, well, these beings that are being contacted, if they're coming through any fourth dimensional portal, have to be fallen angels. Correct?
Right.
What is Madonna doing tomorrow? Or what is Madonna doing this week? Madonna, the singer, is doing something that, talk about flying in the face of danger or flying in the face of whatever. Anthony, what is Madonna doing?
Well, on the 24th in Philadelphia, her concert is entitled The Desecration of the Bride and the Coming of the Fallen Angels. She performed this previously on the 16th at Madison Square Garden. She's doing a repeat performance on the 24th.
And is she doing this because the Pope is here, you think?
Well, the Pope is here not by accident, and so yes, I think there's a direct connection between the two, because what Madonna is doing is ceremonial.
In her concert.
In her concert.
It's like what she did at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Where she looked like Baphomet.
These are ritualistic performances.
Especially at a time when we're ramping up to open up a dimension we're opening up a portal for fourth dimensional beings.
To allow fallen angels to come through. And she's holding a concert, a performance, regarding the welcoming of the fallen angels.
And the Pope is here too.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep thinking Visions of Angels and Demons.
The movie. Mm-hmm.
And the Vatican had concern, pardon the pun,
with their
antimatter that they got from
CERN.
That's weird. It's weird all this is happening like this. It's so bizarre. I was actually, someone actually told me to look into something about a sci-fi pilot called Rewind that never got picked up by the Sci-Fi Channel. It's about a bomb, a nuclear bomb, that is set off in New York on September 23rd, 2015. It kills 9 million people or something like, not 9 million. Yeah, 9 million people. It kills 9 million people. And, they find out that they can't disarm the bomb. And so they find out that there's been experiments going on with a collider that they can go into the past and disarm the bomb. But it never really picked up any steam. But it was really scary how they showed everything going on. So, it all culminates on this date, this tomorrow date. Something everybody thinks is going to happen. Maybe something will happen. Maybe it won't happen. I don't know. But CERN firing up is something they're going to be doing that's routine anyway. Like I said, the fireworks aren't going to be really until November. They're going up in October, but November and December is where we see the most power.
Yeah, with the ions of lead.
Right. And that's what we talked about earlier in the first hour, is the ions of lead, firing them up. Now, you said before on this program that the LHC has the ability to affect our magnetic field. What does it do to the magnetic field?
Well, it has magnetic lines of force from both the magnets as well as the accelerating particles generate their own magnetic lines of force, and that actually attracts the magnetosphere and magnetopause, our shields around the planet, our magnetic lines of force that are generated by the core of the planet, and change the shape, the morphology of that shield around the planet. If you open up the shields, you allow in the naturally occurring from the cosmos gamma rays and X-rays and accelerating protons from the sun itself. In particular, the protons penetrating to the core of our planet heats the core and causes the planet to expand like a balloon. And that's what we're seeing with the crust and the tectonic plate separation, not collision, earthquakes and volcanic activity.
Wow, because they started firing up the collider on the 16th. They were doing test fires of the collider on the 16th. They weren't doing the Big Bang thing, but they were doing colliders on the...
They were sending protons to what's called the north area.
When was that earthquake in Chile?
Well,
was it the 16th of May? It was the 16th of September, right?
I don't remember the exact date.
I think it was the 16th.
8.3.
Yeah, it was? Okay, they're telling me right. 16th of September, when they were doing the preliminary firing of this.
Right. It hit peak power, 13 tera-electron volts, 4 hours after the earthquake occurred. But what people need to understand is it doesn't need to reach peak power to generate gravimetric waves. The magnets are powering up, and as they're ramping up to collide these streams of particles, they're projecting, prior to the collisions, gravimetric waves.
Both inside and outside.
Inside and outside. And we've talked about antipodal. Chile is not directly antipodal, but it doesn't need to be.
It's close.
The waves are moving through and they're hitting a weak spot.
Right. And the ring of fire is just, and they've been doing, what they've been doing in the Northwest? Earthquake week.
Right.
Are you prepared for the earthquake, the big one? Fox did a thing on the Northwest getting hit by an earthquake, and the New Yorker did a thing on the Northwest being hit by an earthquake saying a 9-pointer is coming. And it's all they've been talking about this week. It scares the hell out of me because of all the stuff that I've been hearing about September 23rd. Another thing that's interesting, and you bring up the magnetosphere, the magnetopause, that right before CERN was going to go to 14, I believe, it was right before you were told not to speak. We had you speak, and then it was right at that time. We had you speak on the night they were going to go 14.
Right.
And right before then, NASA launched the magnetospheric multiscale mission.
Right. The MMM satellites that are in a diamond pattern in a geosynchronous orbit around the planet for the purpose of monitoring for black hole activity and also the effects of the magnetic lines of force from CERN that are changing the shape of our shields.
This brings up, there's 4 of those satellites, you say? They're in a diamond shape, right?
Right.
And you're saying that your theory is they're trying to bring about the same type of opening of a portal that Dee and Kelly tried to do.
Right.
And that, now remember this, they talked to an angel named Abe. And they said, the 4 houses are the 4 angels of the earth, which are the 4 overseers and watchtowers. That the eternal God in his providence hath placed against the usurping, blasphemy, misuse, and stealth of the wicked and great enemy, the devil, to the intent that being put out to the earth, his envious will might be bridled, the determinations of God fulfilled, and his creatures kept and preserved within the compass and measure of order. 4 overseers and watchtowers that are placed in the heavens.
Those are the satellites.
To watch the extremities that are going on Earth.
That's right. And
the extreme magnetic disturbances. 4 satellites, 4 overseers. Metaphorically, 4 houses above us.
That's right. And remember, we've talked about Saturn and the connecting of CERN to Saturn.
The open portal.
They need to open the shields to send the plasma conduit between the Earth and the southern pole of Saturn. So this is to open the shields.
And we have the overseers watching.
That's it.
Just like what John Day and Edward Kelly talked about, and Ave, this angel, told them.
But on a massive scale.
Oh, this is amazing. 888-673-3700. 888-673-3700. Anthony Patch with us tonight on Ground Zero. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
With us tonight, I'm Clyde Lewis. Tonight, the CERN codes. What are all these codes and numbers? Why are all these satellites watching the magnetosphere? 4 satellites in a diamond formation monitoring our magnetosphere and magnetopods. And the reason why is because naturally formed microscopic black holes from gamma rays form there, and they want to make sure that none form when CERN fires off. And I just thought it was interesting that these 4 satellites sound something like what the Enochian angel Ave told John Dee. He said there were needed 4 overseers that stand guard against chaos at the extremities of our universe. I'm sure a black hole, Anthony, would be considered a universal extremity.
Yep.
If it happens. So that would mean then the magnetospheric satellites are actually looking for black holes, just in case the Hadron Collider screws up, right?
Sure. But again, remember, black holes are only theoretical. They've never been reproduced, measured, or quantified in a laboratory environment. So they only exist in the gravity model of the universe as a theoretical construct. Mm-hmm. That could be the cover story for what they're really doing, and they will utilize those satellites to facilitate the opening of our shields so that they can project a plasma conduit in the shape of Birkeland currents, a twisted helix between the Earth and the southern pole of Saturn.
So we'd see a Rosen bridge being formed in the magnetosphere. Now, Rosen bridge is what Einstein talked about, and what was proven to be real. That there would be a Rosen bridge that would go from CERN into the magnetosphere, and it would be a direct conduit
to Saturn,
or to whatever they decide to point it at. But Saturn seems to be the idea here. Now, you say that the scientists at CERN also want to communicate with these beings, and there's some speculation they'll put to good use what appear to be these slides, panels made of animal skin. Now, I've talked about this before, and I found out that they were given to CERN or made by the Portuguese students of the Santa Cecilia Music Academy. And no one, well, they speculate. There's a few languages on these. Mm-hmm. Do you think they're using these to communicate too? I mean, the language they have are Sanskrit, Aramaic, Arabic, Hebrew, Mandarin.
Mm-hmm. This is part of the ritual. Now, you will be getting into the sounds, but there are sounds that emanate from CERN and have been recorded, much like the sounds that have been recorded at Saturn itself and other heavenly bodies. And what we're hearing are the sounds of the electromagnetic spectrum. We're hearing electricity. And CERN is reproducing in their collisions massive levels of electricity. And digitally, they've been able to record those in a computer and reproduce digital music. And it actually sounds like a lyrical music.
What about these sounds that people have been hearing, like these or areas? And tonight I found out that Virginia had a loud boom that happened, and it was heard all the way into Massachusetts. But yeah, these sounds coming from the sky that sound like horns or...
Those are telluric currents. Those are electric currents that naturally occur from the Earth. The Earth has a battery that extend out into the magnetosphere. CERN is generating large quantities of telluric currents in addition to gravimetric waves. And what we're hearing around the planet are telluric, T-E-L-L-U-R-I-C, telluric currents or telluric waves that are projecting out into our atmosphere and reflecting back towards the Earth.
So instead of making a thunderous noise, they make a horn-like noise or a hum.
And it depends on the frequency, the location, and the atmospheric conditions. But those will radiate from the surface of the Earth or from CERN and then reflect back to the Earth, and you can hear those. But going back to your panels, these are all parts of the rituals. The sounds, the spoken word, the ritual dance of symmetry, that video they produced.
Oh, yeah.
All of these are rituals that have to be combined in order to communicate prior to the opening of this portal.
Is it true that the cross-section of the Atlas, if they were to take away the part of the Atlas Collider, it looks like Shiva? I mean, I know that Shiva is on the campus, but they actually made the interior of it look like Shiva.
Right. The cross-section of it, the wiring of it, looks exactly like the, what you might call flames arrayed around in a circle of the statue of Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction that is posted outside the headquarters of CERN. You take the goddess or god figure of Shiva out and leave the ring with the flames, it looks identical to the cross-section of the detector.
They're really tempting fate here, aren't they? They have Shiva, the goddess of destruction, or the god of destruction. She's not a goddess. I think it's a god of destruction. And then they have that in the cross-section. They've got Atlas is one of the colliders. What's another one that they have?
CMS, Alice,
there's
LHCb.
And there used to be the solar aerial, which was
an early experiment.
It's called Satan.
Right.
Which they had there, too.
There are actually 7 main, but the 4 that we focus on are the ones we're talking about now.
Yeah. It's amazing how they tempt fate with all these names. And, of course, if you take a look at the CERN logo, it's supposed to represent the collider and the tube, but it's shaped like a 6. 3 times 666. The beast, I guess. Yep. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Once we open a portal to the 4th dimension, then what? Anthony Patch has that coming up on Ground Zero and your phone calls. 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
With Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good.
Today, you will witness the birth of a new fusion-based energy source. Safe, renewable energy, and cheap electricity for everyone.
As they begin the cranking up of this 27-kilometer long underground tunnel, this tube, this beam, as protons are sent at almost the speed of light to collide. What is it they're trying to accomplish?
And now on to the main event. Give me the blue light.
This is as far as we have ever been able to get.
Chevron 6 is holding. Chevron 6 is locked in place.
Wait until they start the collisions, which should happen. Think of the Earth as a battery. The currents that pass through the mantle and the crust every day. However, they can be created artificially, and that is what the magnets at CERN are creating. Very powerful, 8.3 Gauss, 100,000 times stronger than our own magnetosphere. Magnetic forces that they're generating, even without colliding particles. At this point, the atmosphere as well as the Earth itself influencing the magnetosphere.
Ejected hydrogen particle then. This is how you play God.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and you're listening to Ground Zero. Tonight, the CERN codes with Anthony Patch. Tomorrow, September 23rd, 2015. People believe that it's a day that will be a doomsday day. I don't know if I believe it, but hey, there's a lot of things that are happening. A lot of people believe that it has something to do with CERN because if you type in September 23rd, 2015 into Google Maps, you go right to CERN for some reason. They say it's kind of bizarre. Then if you type in Anthony Patch's name, it goes to CERN as well. So I think what's going on is what it does is it runs a bot that whoever talks the most about CERN, or if a lot of people on the internet associate CERN with that date, it'll go right to CERN.
Yeah, the web bot and the algorithm that searches you out, the spiders run around and they say, oh, there's Patch, put him with CERN.
Yeah. Because there was a time if you type my name in, there was CERN too.
That's right.
Not anymore. Guess
but we're going to get down and dirty. We're going to get down and dirty here. We're going to start talking about what's really coming through.
So, okay, you have these fourth dimensional beings. They're doing this like John D., Ed Kelly, Aleister Crowley, even Jack Parsons and
ceremonies,
Hubbard. Ceremonies, rituals to bring in these fourth dimensional beings. But now they've got the power to do this. They got like their own little Ark of the Covenant. They got their own little Tower of Babel. Okay. And so they have these panels that have writing on animal skins. They encase them in glass and they put them right there to be seen in the, I don't know what they call it, the tunnel, the track, or whatever it is that they shoot through so they can send a message or something because it's written in Sanskrit. And of course, for those that don't know, in India, the only people that read and write Sanskrit are scholars of the Vedas and the Upanishads. Scriptures, those are their scriptures. They were written in the language of the gods, they claim. So, language of the gods was Sanskrit. Then there's Aramaic, the language of Jesus, another god. Hebrew, the tongue of Moses, a prophet. Mandarin Chinese, what, Genghis Khan? Who knows?
And these are the ancient incantations that have been spoken and sung.
Right.
That have been handed down through the eons to this time.
So they're songs, they're like the Enochian keys. They're keys to contact these beings, and they use frequency, sound, light, imagery, all these things. And then if they can find a way to make the portal stable, then they'll be able to leave it open and something can get in and something can get through. Now, I was reading today that it doesn't necessarily have to be human form that comes through. It can be frequency, light, intelligent light, if they say that the light has an intelligence and it moves or can teleport back and forth, it can be that. But see, that's the thing, is what they have then is they have this entity that has no body, no physical form, but it's a light or it's a frequency or something that's right there.
Yeah, spiritual entity.
They can occupy itself for that moment. And they have this computer that does not use heat that I read about, that it has, well, it uses much less energy to power up. And what they do, well, it doesn't use transistors.
Uses qubits.
Use qubits, yes, you're right. And qubits operate through quantum entanglement. And
that's a line of communication to the other side.
Right. Because it branches off into supersymmetry of the particles going back and forth and manipulating digitally what.
That's right. The layman's terms is that they're running computations in another dimension and extracting an answer from another dimension and bringing it back to our realm. So they're communicating already through that interdimensionals.
So you have particles on our side reacting to particles on the other side.
That's right. That's quantum entanglement.
And so these particles, I guess, the lack of a better term, they're communicating with each other.
Yes, they are. At a very small scale, at the quantum level.
So this computer, is it AI?
It is. As of February of this year, the Model 2048 is artificially intelligent and comprised of the equivalent processing power of 7 billion human brains.
So it's creating quantum entanglement with what?
No, that's what we don't quite know. They know, we don't. I'm not privy to it. But it can't be good, because Dr. Stephen Hawking said, we don't want to go there. We do not want to open this. We don't want to let through into our realm what lies on the other side. Even he, as a physicist who is an atheist, says we do not want to communicate, much less allow these entities to come into our realm of existence.
Well, I just remember what Einstein said about quantum entanglements. He said they're spooky actions at a distance. And obviously that if anything comes through the wormhole or the Rosen Bridge or whatever it is, it's going to be spooky.
It's not going to be good.
Because, look, if we're talking about something that is like light or frequency or some other entity, it's like a ghost.
And it needs a body.
Right. Either it's going to hover there like some intelligent electromagnetic cloud.
But not just one.
Many, right? If they come through.
Countless.
Well, if it's demonic, it could attempt to inhabit whatever physical body can climb into, right? I mean, if there's a scientist just have to, and you got this possession, maybe? I don't know.
Sure.
I know that sounds outrageous, but come on. I mean, if something gets through that's that way, you would want to, well, you have more than one entity. This would mean that the veil would be ripped open.
That's right.
We'd rip open the veil and things could come through, they could be good, of course, but chances are they're not, right?
There's no way.
I mean, this is like that scene in Ghostbusters where Gozer the Gozerian decides to take over that place on top of that New York skyrise or high rise. And then you have, all these rays going up into the sky and pulling all these bodies or all these ghosts out of nowhere. So you have all these paranormal events happening. When CERN fires up its portal and all these fourth dimension entities come through.
Yeah. And there are hybrid bodies by the thousands that have been artificially created using artificial DNA, printed, grown, replicated into human form, that are hybrids, that are in stasis, that are awaiting these entities.
I found it interesting that the reason why you know about this possibility of 3D printed bodies or this idea of DNA strands or whatever is because you grew up in Walnut Creek, didn't you?
Lafayette, next door to Walnut Creek, where the Human Genome Project took place.
And it was a collider where they did that, right?
UC Berkeley, where I went to school.
The synchrotron.
And that is directly related to X-ray crystallography, in which they use high luminosity, high powered X-rays to look at the proteins and the protein folding of DNA. They went right down to the building blocks, the 4 building blocks of DNA. And now, if you look up Dr. Craig Ventnor, did a YouTube video recording with NASA back in 2009, and he presented the fact that they can take the building block, amino acids, and they can use a 3D printer, and they can build any organism they want. And today we have college students around the world that enter competitions with 3D printers that, and rather than inks, they're using these building blocks as inks, if you will, and they are creating in competitions organisms, living entities that we have never seen in nature before. And ostensibly they kill them or destroy them after they create them. But this is happening at the college level. Imagine what the scientists have been doing for many, many years.
Well, they've been talking about, I did a show about this. It said, but 2017, 2020, 2025. They would be able to take the essence of the brain or the soul, they call it the soul for lack of a better term.
Sure.
And they would put it into a container, a computer.
Mm-hmm. The transhumanists.
Right, or into a drone. Yeah, they just said it was a plastic container. They said it was human-like.
Mm-hmm.
And you would be in there and you'd function like a computer until they were ready to place you in a human body or in a human body that they were creating in a laboratory with a DNA. What was it, like artificial DNA, third-strand DNA?
Third-strand DNA we've talked about, yeah.
Yeah, and so what they do is they do this third-strand DNA thing, and then they use a metal, some sort of metal that's able to be used for control, whether it be silver or gold.
More than likely gold, because that's what they've used before in the first iteration of the third strand of DNA.
Okay, so they're using a gold strand so they can keep control. And so what we got is we have this artificial or new body, artificial strands of DNA, and
they're waiting the spirits to come through.
So it's an advanced form of hybridization with transhumanist form coming together with this being form.
Yep.
So they're giving life to this artificial intelligence, this transhumanist intelligence, doing what Jean Baudrillard said in his book about simulacra. He said that man would find a way to create his gods. Let me read you the quote. We have enough time to read that.
Sure.
I was looking at this and it reminded me of this. It said, he said this is what Baudrillard said about faking or created in a second incarnation. He said, but what if God himself can be simulated? That is to say, it can be reduced to the signs that constitute faith. And the whole system becomes weightless. It is no longer itself anything but a gigantic simulacrum. Not unreal, but a simulacrum, that is to say, never exchanged for the real, but exchanged for itself in an uninterrupted circuit without reference or circumference. So you go from the God particle to a God simulation.
That's right. And the image of the beast spoken of in the Bible. The animating of the image of the beast. This is what we're facing. This is Revelation.
This is creepy.
This machine is in Revelation 9. This is factual. What I'm trying to impart on people is that we're not making this stuff up. This is not hyperbole. This is information taken directly from laboratory, white papers, journals, right from the scientific sources and from DARPA and other sources like that.
There's so many people out there, I'm sure, that don't believe what you're saying, what I'm saying.
Our mission is simply to bring the information.
But you have to look back at what Google is doing when they bought Boston Dynamics, when they're collecting this DNA. 23andMe is the DNA section of Google. They've now changed also to another group called Alphabet, which is an alphabet agency. And they said, this is what they said, if they were going to buy Boston Dynamic, they were not going to be in the war business. But I see all of these new droids that they've created, these robot droids.
And they're involved in artificial intelligence.
Exactly. So it's like they're creating these super soldiers out of raw materials. I mean, what are they going to use to propel them?
They want to kill God as their ultimate agenda.
Oh, it's scary. This is too much. It really is. It's amazing that if this is it, if this is what is up, that it's far more blasphemous in a cosmic level than you can ever imagine.
It's worse than the pre-flood times.
The times of Noah.
You got it.
Anthony Patch here on Ground Zero. We got to get to some calls. That's some pretty creepy stuff, Anthony. I don't know. We'll be back with more. Keep it here. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
We're the extra meat in your brain salad. Stay connected. FM News 101.
So, okay. A lot of people ask me why, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people ask me why sometimes I repeat myself during the second hour. The reason why I do that is because first hour, for those of you who get 3 hours of the show, sometimes I sound like I'm repeating myself in the second hour. I do that because we get more audience in the second hour. Because some people only record or play 1 hour of the show because I'm sandwiched in between whatever's before me and Coast to Coast AM. So with that in mind, I go on, I do my thing, and then sometimes I have to come back and I have to repeat something. There was something that Anthony talked about in the first hour, and for those of you that are just tuning in, this is a real mind-boggler for me after what we just talked about. The Pope is arriving. He'll be here, I don't know, soon. The Pope will be here, but something is going on, the 24th, you said?
He's meeting with the president on the 23rd and then Congress on the 24th. He addresses on the 25th. He's in New York, presenting to the UN, and he'll be doing a mass in Madison Square Garden on the 25th. Okay.
And another thing that's going on is somebody's competing with the Pope, and that is Madonna.
Yeah, she's paving the way.
The singer Madonna is actually, she's doing some sort of
ritual.
Some ritual, I guess. She's going to be performing on what day?
Well, she performed on the 16th. She will be performing again on the 24th. What is known as the desecration of the bride, which is the church, and the coming of the fallen angels.
That's the title of the concert.
Of the concert.
The desecration of the bride.
And the coming of the fallen angels.
And she's doing this at this time when CERN begins to ramp up. They started ramping up on the 10th, but they're constantly gaining power.
Right.
And tomorrow is more power, and the 24th is more power. Everybody thinks the 23rd is going to be the big day for some reason. I don't understand. But the real power is going to be in November and December.
That's right.
When they're going to be full power.
Colliding ions of lead.
Right. Ions of lead. So I find that just really bizarre that Madonna is doing that, knowing what we're talking about tonight.
Why would you welcome the fallen angels?
Unless, of course, somebody else is trying to welcome the fallen angels.
It's the promise of immortality that they have bought into. The age-old lie from Lucifer, that ye shall be as gods.
Playing God.
Playing God.
God particle and God simulation all in one package.
What a wonderful thing to dance about.
Well, you see, I have a problem because with what CERN may be up to, science is now allowed for mankind's destruction. It has to be, well, eventually. I don't know if it's going to be like quick, like they say it will, but when they're tinkering and meddling and groping for things unknown, it could bring with it untold wrath, which is scary because, I've always been told that you don't mock God. And science seems to be doing this pretty well with CERN.
Hubris.
Hubris. There's the word. Hubris. Anthony Patch with us tonight on Ground Zero. We're going to get to your calls coming up. I don't know what to say. This show is, it sounds crazy, but
it's factual.
You can find this stuff on the CERN website. You can find this stuff, I don't know.
Right in front of you.
Right in front of you. I mean, it's been done. It's been going on now from the 14th century. Heck, you can even say the Ark of the Covenant had power like that. The Tower of Babel had power like that. But now we're looking at John D., Ed Kelly, Alistair Crowley, Jack Parsons, and now the guys at CERN.
The most powerful machine ever created by man.
It's true. Anthony Patch, we'll be back with more. Keep it here. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
Let me be clear. As a citizen and as president, Ground Zero is indeed essential on radio and is essential to who we are.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up.
Wait, Jimmy.
tell, he's with us, and he has not stopped talking about CERN, even though he's told not to talk about it. We're here tonight we have, in the first 2 hours, set the record straight. We've also opened up more discussion about some of the darker sides to CERN. And I'm sure, and a lot of people are saying, this sounds too weird, too far-fetched. Well, you know what? You can read about it on CERN's page. I mean, some of the comparisons to what John D. and Ed Kelly did, or what Aleister Crowley did, or what Jack Parsons did, is it's all over their site. It's all over. I mean, they talk about, in the tradition of portals, and if we open up this, we can stabilize it, what joy it will bring to all of us.
And they do talk about entities on the other side.
They do. They said, we're bringing entities over if we're going to bring entities over. But I'm just thinking, what if these entities don't have physical bodies? What are you going to do with them? We can put them in a compartment and hold them over in a computer and then download them into a body. Like they wanted to do anyway. I mean, the science is talking about, they're going to do the first human head transplant?
Why would they spend all this money and put all the brightest minds onto one project if they were not trying to achieve something on a huge scale?
Right.
Other than the God particle.
I mean, the God particle. Okay, this is where we talk. Let me just bring up something else. This is really crazy. Okay. This just in. I can't believe this. This stuff happens when we talk about it. Scientists have achieved a world record in the strange world of quantum teleportation. In a study that sounds like something out of Star Trek, researchers have managed to teleport packets of light over 60 miles of optical fiber. The research could have implications for cryptography, which involves transmitting information securely, including communications between Earth and spacecraft. So, physicists have now achieved a distance record for quantum teleportation. The question they ask is, are we a step closer to human teleportation, or reducing something down to tachyon particles and reassembling it somewhere else?
Sure.
The answer is yes. Yes. That's, what?
Right. And they're moving into using quantum entanglement as an actual encrypted form of communication beyond the teleportation. So you will use a quantum computer that is operating in other dimensions using quantum entanglement as a form of secure communication that no one can break.
I think they even mentioned Hadron here, or else the Large Hadron Collider. Let me go through this a minute. No. They're using. They were talking about Alice. I thought they were talking about the
Alice detector.
Alice detector, but they're not. They're talking about quantum communications, quantum computing, and then they said this is fundamentally different from Star Trek, but a theoretical physicist said the technology such as this could pave the way for a Star Trek-style teleporter. Michio Kaku said that the breakthroughs needed to transport humans instantly have already been made. He believes a teleporter could become a reality as soon as the end of the century, and it's only a matter of time before we will be beaming across the universe. That's what he said at the University of New York. The expression, beam me up, Scotty, we used to laugh at it, but now it's going to happen. We're not going to laugh anymore.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Have you heard or read anywhere in the other areas of science or in radio interviews associated with CERN, have you heard anyone except me mention the adiabatic quantum computer? Does it come up in conversations other than with me?
It hasn't come up in conversations, but I read somewhere. That's why I'm thinking, I don't understand why we can't talk about the adiabatic. Oh, I'm sorry. Did we slip and talk about the adiabatic computer?
I'm just not going to tell.
Well, I'm talking about I kind of talked about the adiabatic computer when I talked about this computer that doesn't make any heat. That's basically artificial intelligence, the adiabatic computer.
Yep. I'm just not going to mention the manufacturer's name. That's what got me in trouble.
I know the manufacturer's name.
Yes, you do.
Can I say it?
No.
Okay, I won't say it.
No.
I know who makes it.
I want to protect you.
Okay, thank you. But I won't say it, but I know who.
But that's the whole control of all of this stuff that we're talking about. That's the control mechanism.
Oh, this is so much fun to try and talk around the nonsense. Let's go to Tony in Indiana. Hi, Tony, you're on Ground Zero with Anthony Patch.
Hi, Clyde. Hi, Mr. Patch. I have a question. my initial question is what exactly are they doing? You pretty much answered that, and whether this could be part of the coal, but you've been talking about the Luciferian side of this, and as being the trickster, could this end up being the pit from which the locust with the scorpion tails emerges?
Yes.
Okay.
Stephen King thinks so too. He wrote The Mist and the Arrowhead Project and the ugly creatures that came out of the pit.
Well, I heard thousands of creatures coming across, and Satan is a deceiver, and this would be a good way for us to bring about our own demise, where we will wish for death.
You're right, and CERN is built on the site of the ancient Roman temple to the sun god Apollyon or Apollo.
Yes.
And it is where the key to opening the bottomless pit is the machine, the LHC, and it resides right over the opening to the abyss. Apollyon?
Abaddon or Abaddon?
Mm-hmm.
Abaddon and Apollyon.
That's right.
I know that scripture.
I hear people, they say this all seems crazy and, out of touch or whatever, but I'm telling you, I think the Bible's real, and people that believe in the Bible have to believe that some of this could be possible, because the Tower of Babel was real if you're a Christian.
Right.
The Tower of Babel was real. The Ark of the Covenant was real.
Right.
And for you to believe that this can't possibly be real is basically, going against things that are in the book of Revelation. And
Revelation 9:11. It's Revelation 9:11, actually. The idea of Apollyon, the bottomless pit, and Abaddon.
Yes,
creepy.
and it's all right there. I mean, it's been prophesied. And if you believe the book, you believe at some point it's going to happen. And it's all just right there.
And now people have a choice. They can look at this information and they can say, I'm either going to go to the light or I'm going to go to the dark. They have a choice. There is no gray area.
Light. I choose the light, and I appreciate the information tonight. And Clyde, as usual, you are cutting edge. And Mr. Patch, God bless you, and keep your head down, brother.
Thank you, man.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
When you die, you don't go to the light, though. It's a trap. Seriously. I mean, I like basking in the light of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say that. I mean, people are going to go, Clyde saying something stupid. No, really. I like basking in the light of good. But,
good.
When I had my little deal,
right.
I saw the light. I didn't go to it because I thought it was a trap.
Yeah.
It's a big bug zapper, and no one should go there.
Bug zapper.
It is. It's a bug zapper. Some guy on the other end is in overalls eating a moon pie going, hey, there's another one that fell for the light. Oh.
All right. So you just proved my theory that God has a great sense of humor because he created it.
Yeah. He created the bug zapper that we all go to when we die. All right. Let's go to Richard in Florida. Hi, Richard, on Ground Zero. Richard, you're on Ground Zero. Can you hear me, Richard? Are you asleep, Richard? Okay, we're going to put you on hold. Find out what's wrong with Richard. Let's go to Tommy in West Virginia. You're on Ground Zero.
Yeah, hey, guys. Hey, I have a couple comments and a couple of questions. I'm looking here at the LHC schedule for 2015, which I found on CERN's website, and it's evident that they've been operating at 13 TeV since about June 3rd.
Right, and we didn't say that they were operating anything higher than that. We've said that this is just a ramping up stage, and all the fireworks are going to be in November and December. That's what we said.
Okay, well, I see that, but I'm wondering what's the special. Why are we concerned about this month?
I have no idea.
13 TeV.
No idea.
I don't think there is anything special because.
Well, do you read the internet, Tommy? Do you read the internet at all?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, have you noticed that everybody's worried about September 23rd because it's the equinox or something? I don't know why they're worried about it, and that's why I said throughout this entire show, there's nothing about CERN to worry about. The only thing is that a lot of strangeness is happening with CERN. We want to give it a different angle because everybody says if you type in September 23rd. 2015 into Google Maps, you'll wind up at CERN. Yeah. So that's why we talk about it.
Right, I do get that, but they've been operating at intervals. This is like the third run, and the only thing that they're doing that
you said that
I think yes, what are they doing on the 24th and the 25th? I can see what they're doing. They have a reference to VDM, which is an illumination calibration.
Yes,
so I don't think there's anything to be concerned with. But now I am curious about what you say is going on in November and December, and I haven't been able to do any research on that yet. It looks like something special is happening because it's all lit up in yellow and orange, ions set up in ions, but they've already done experiments with lead ions back in August.
But I'm beginning to think, Tommy, just to answer your question, I think I'm beginning to, what I read on CERN today, I'm beginning to think they're really serious about this dimensional portal opening thing. Because they've been talking about it, but, they want to hold a Rosen Bridge stable for a long period of time to send something through or have something come in. And that's the secret.
I'm just wondering what's different. What are we expecting in November and December with the lead ions that's different from what they've already used ALICE to study the collision of lead ions already in August?
I think the intention, what about you?
Yeah, I'll give you the answer to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you're colliding heavier particles like lead, which are heavier than the protons they've been colliding, they will achieve 14 plus tera electron volts, so a higher power level. But the other thing that most people don't realize is that they're also producing vast quantities of strangelets, and the strangelets are derived from the collisions that occur at that power level. Anything above 10 TeV produces strangelets. With the heavier ions, they're able to produce larger quantities of strangelets.
And they denied that they do that.
But they've already done the collisions with lead ions in August, and so there must be something even more special about what's happening in November and December.
What they did before with lead was proton versus lead collisions and very low power lead to lead. Now they're going to full power lead to lead, and that's vastly different.
It's going to be crazy, Tommy. Hey, thank you so much for confirming and clarifying for us. I really appreciate that.
Hey, thanks for answering my question.
You bet, buddy. Take care. Well, things are just so crazy when it comes to CERN. Every time I sit through an entire show just on the edge of my seat, and I'm doing the show with you. That's what's creepy about this whole thing. We got a break.
Full power.
Yeah, we got a break. Power. We'll be back. Your phone call, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
Wishing for news? Your wish has come true. FM News 101 KXL.
I'm Clyde Lewis. This is Ground Zero tonight. Anthony Patch with us. Encouraged to come on and talk about the unspeakable, He's told not to talk about it. We got him to talk a little bit about stuff, and that's good. And a whole angle that just creeps me out. The cosmic creepiness ensues. And Anthony's delivering it, and we're listening. And like I said, on the edge of my seat about this whole thing. Let's go to Richard in Florida. You're on Ground Zero.
So hi, Clive.
It's Clyde. It's Clyde. Thank you. Go ahead, Richard.
Clyde, I'm sorry. I thought I was supposed to. And Anthony, great to have you on. I just wanted to mention. I know at the beginning of your program you talked about the argument the cosmic rays are so much more energetic than what CERN is creating, and nature does create energies that are vastly greater than what human beings can create. I mean, the most energetic cosmic rays that have been measured, 10 to the 20th electron volts. We're talking 1 trillion times greater than what CERN is projecting to generate. So, why do you dismiss the argument that the Earth is being bombarded with far more energetic particles with no discernible, catastrophic effects?
Have we?
I don't think we have, but I think what you're referring to is there was a safety study that was produced to address concerns similar to what you're alluding to. CERN produced a report back in, I think it was 2008, in which they made the comparison between their energy levels and the incoming gamma rays from the cosmos that are reaching the planet. And most of those are filtered by our magnetosphere, as we've mentioned before. However, that report has been completely debunked by other physicists and scientists to say that it's completely unrealistic to say that the CERN levels of power that are generated are lower than the gamma rays that are penetrating the magnetosphere. It's quite an erroneous safety study.
The heat that is being generated is far more greater than the sun. I mean, that's enough for me to say, hey, wait a minute, what are we doing?
Right. I think where people get confused is they hear tera electron volts. And yeah, that's a very small number. But if you assign that number to one particle, but then multiply that billions of times to all of the bunches of particles, as it's known, to the solid stream, in effect, of particles that they're creating in the Large Hadron Collider at near the speed of light, you now have to multiply the tera electron volts not by one particle, but by billions of particles to appreciate the power levels that are being achieved by CERN. So,
does that answer your question?
That makes sense. I mean, the number of particles is much greater, and they are looking at. I mean, it's not so much the energy that they're concerned about. They're looking at for specific resonances, specific energies that are resonance energies, trying to detect certain kinds of exotic particles.
Mm-hmm. Sure they are. But at the same time, they need an energy level that can break the nuclear bond between quantum particles, and specifically WIMPs, weakly interacting massive particles, in order to create that parting of the veil, that opening of the interdimensional portal, by warping time and space, by breaking those nuclear bonds. And they need the energy of strangelets that are derived from these collisions. So it's not the tera electron volts to focus on. It's the production of strangelets and the power that they comprise that will be able to break these nuclear bonds to create this rift.
And you also had maybe a second question. You had mentioned adiabatic quantum computers, reversible computers. So this is an idea, not so much quantum, but the idea of computers that do not require an energy source, that they don't generate heat. Reversible computers. That idea has been around since the 60s with Fraking and Feynman. As a theoretical possibility, and they're well on the way to actually creating those in the classical realm. I see that that's rather dangerous.
Yeah, the without heat, the adiabatic, means that the computer operates. The qubits are kept in a state of superconductivity because they are dropped in temperature down to a superconducting level, much like the magnets at CERN. And when they do that in a cube that is electromagnetically shielded from outside interference. And what we're talking about is preventing the decoherence of the computations that are taking place within the qubits.
Richard, did that answer your question?
Yeah, sure does.
All right. Thank you, buddy, for calling in tonight. Great questions. I mean, those are good questions.
Yeah, very good.
Brilliant man right there. All right. Anthony Patch with us tonight on Ground Zero. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
Yes, we all heard stuff. Like, how they thought that there were other dimensions, other worlds all around us, and how they wanted to try and make a window, so they could look through and see what's on the other side.
Well, maybe your window turned out to be a door. Just
not mine, those scientists!
Oh, the scientists!
Yes, the scientists! They must have ripped all open by accident. This other world came spilling through to ours. Well, I didn't understand the half of it.
Collider sequence code either 2323 either power at 83%. Radius stable. Dimension classified. DNA structure intact. Commence incarnation sequence on power. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage Collider. Open portal segment. Titan 02.
Prophecy talks about the day when those gates are going to open, and many of those fearsome things that are inside the earth are going to be let out.
When an evil spirit goes out, it goes and wanders in the dark places and it comes back to see if its habitation is fit for repossession. So imagine that there are people out there that are sold out to the powers of darkness that literally want to bring back some of the most malevolent / human beings that have ever been demon possessed. And imagine this, that they would actually become repossessed with the same spirit that left when they died.
We are going to become gods. Period. If you don't like it, get off. You don't have to contribute. You don't have to participate. But if you're going to interfere with me becoming God, then you're going to have big trouble. Then we'll have warfare. The only way you can prevent me in this 50 or is to kill me. And you kill me, I'll kill you.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. Tonight, Anthony Patch is with us. Cosmic creepiness rearing its ugly head tonight as we talk about the CERN codes. 9/23/2015. Type it into Google Maps, you get CERN. Why? Who knows? Type in Anthony Patch, you get CERN too. The longest time, Anthony has been quiet about CERN because he got a little visit from the Men in Black. But we did some arm twisting, and we encouraged him to come on the program and talk about an angle that hasn't been talked about all that much, but we're talking about it tonight, and that is the angle of fourth-dimensional beings coming through the portal that they want to stabilize. And with that, they could, because of what they did at Berkeley, they could be able to, they are able to design, or theoretically able to design, a transhumanist form of human or whatever. It's sort of a machine type of compartment to take these beings, if they are frequency or light or whatever, tachyon particles for all we know, going into these bodies and just basically inhabiting them, and therefore creating what Jean Baudrillard had said was the simulacrum or the simulation of the return of a Messiah or a God or an ascended master or whatever you want to call them. There are people that are saying, well, Clyde, what CERN is doing is not malevolent. They're doing a lot of benevolent activities. They gave us the internet. They gave us all kinds of things. But I have to question the symbology and everything that CERN stands for. I mean, we were talking earlier during the break. In fact, one of my producers, Alex Cluton, came in and he said, I don't care what people say. He says, I saw something was produced at CERN and it scared me. I didn't even want to come near it. What was he talking about? He was talking about the death dance? What is that?
The symmetry video that CERN themselves produced. It's a choreographed ritualistic dance that was filmed inside CERN atop one of the detectors in CERN. And this is a ritual to communicate with the other side through dance and through film and through music. And in there, they show things like they show a physicist sitting at a control panel in front of computers, and the collider is flashing collision failed. There's a dimensional warp, time distortion. His wristwatch is shown reversing rapidly backwards and then stopping. They are advertising the fact that they are opening a dimensional portal, and they're using ritual to communicate with the other side to coordinate the opening of this portal.
It's amazing. I mean, and not only that, but Shiva is another example, I think, of, they're tempting fate with death, the 666. the names they give the colliders, built on the Temple of Apollyon, all these things that
add up
together. It's on a ley line too, from what I understand. So
right, definitely.
A lot of very frightening things about this. And I know that every time, we have a successful operation with CERN, people say, oh, you're worrying about nothing. No. I mean, if they get through this without a scratch, more power to them. But we don't know what they're doing behind closed doors. We know that there have been past stories of orbs, entities, demonic faces, like showing up. And, I don't know how you can prove that without the news stories have been produced, like in Britain and Europe and everything else. In the United States, of course, we don't talk about that because we're so hung up on our politics. But, this is something that is very serious. And this is why it always gives me the willies to talk about it, because it is such a realm of, it's like literally knocking on heaven's door. If there was a doorway to heaven and you were told that you couldn't get through the door, that you're not supposed to go through the door, it's kind of like going into a disco. It's a big disco in the sky. You got a guy standing there. You can't get in, buddy. You have to stand on the periphery until we tell you it's okay to get in. But what you do is you crash the gate anyway. You get through the doorway and you go up to meet God. And when you meet him, you don't wipe your feet when you walk through the door. You basically desecrate the entire area where God is. And to make matters worse, if God tells you, hey, don't do this in my house, you turn around, you kick him in the knees, and you say, to hell with you, I'm better than you, and I'm going to do this. That's what this is.
It is. And they will suffer. I wish no ill will towards the people that are working at CERN, but are suffering under the delusion that this is a benevolent thing to do for mankind.
What's it do? Exactly. Because we can. It's like Everest. It's like the quantum Everest, where we're climbing quantum Everest, and people don't make it sometimes to the quantum Everest, or the real Everest for that matter.
Yeah.
Let's go to Spencer in Georgia. Hi, Spencer, on Ground Zero with Anthony Patch. Go ahead.
All right. Clyde, good evening.
Hi.
I'd like to thank both of you gentlemen for being accepted enough to bring us information that many others are reluctant to give us.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'd like to ask both of you to give me some information on this. I went to an air show back in the late 70s. I have a problem identifying dates with past events, but back in the late 70s or early 80s, in Tullahoma, Tennessee, an air show. And one of the exhibits was about, I think they called it a particle accelerator back then, in Tennessee. I just want to know if that thing was still, they had an artist, it might have been an artist conception on the brochure, but I thought it was already built.
Were they building one in Tennessee? I don't recall them building a collider in Tennessee. They were going to build it in Utah. I know that because they were going to.
I was in Tennessee, Tullahoma, Tennessee, at a fair show, and they had the brochures there. And Tennessee, the brochure gave me the impression that Tennessee was so proud of this project, and I never did hear anything else about it.
Do you recall if it was a circle or if it was straight?
I don't know. What's up?
Pardon me?
Go ahead, Spencer. What?
It was circular. It was like the CERN thing, but it was like maybe an early version of the CERN.
Okay, maybe a less powerful version.
Supposed to be built in Tennessee. But Clyde, I just want to tell you, my birthday is today. I'm 43 minutes into my birthday, and I'm gonna have some fireworks. When they crank CERN up, I'm gonna have some fireworks one way or the other. And Clyde, love your show, and y'all keep up the good work.
Do it to some good music, Spencer. All right.
All righty then.
The fireworks.
Y'all have good music.
Maybe some 1812 overture. That always works for a fireworks display.
That'd be wonderful.
Coming to America by Neil Diamond they overuse too. So why don't you do Coming to America by Neil Diamond? Maybe the 1812 overture.
But,
and Duel of Fates by the Star Wars music is good too, huh?
I have access to a computer lab. I stay in a senior building. I'll be 69. I'm already 69. What am I talking about?
All right.
I'm 69 today.
All right, buddy. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Spencer. Happy birthday, man.
Thank you, Clyde. Thank you so much.
You have a great night. You take care. Fireworks for the birthday.
There you go.
1812 overture.
Maybe that's what they should use.
Dun, 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 boom. Dun, 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 dun.
Maybe in their next movie.
Quantum physics. Dun, 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 boom. Particle physics. Dun, 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 boom. Evil entities coming through the door. Boom. We're in trouble.
Or Queen and another one bites the dust.
Yeah, another one bites the dust. Cosmic dust. Bye-bye. Let's go to Eugene in California. Hi, Eugene. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, good evening, fellas. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good, buddy. Go ahead.
Hey, I got a question, and I wanted to pose. I mean, I want to jump in on the armchair hypothesizing tonight.
Okay, hypothesizing.
Yeah, I mean, what if time was like a rope, and then what if you could pulse magnetically high-powered and sort of make that rope like you snapped it with your hand and made kind of a loop go down, you know, like a lump. And then that was going faster, and there was a straight line that you were on that was going even faster than that. And you could just jump off that line on the hump and get out and get back on. You understand what I mean?
Like a Mobius strip? I don't understand.
Yeah, like the caduceus.
Oh,
like
the
the
caduceus.
snake with, yeah.
That's kind of like a Mobius strip, isn't it? Going in and out and over around. I don't know.
Yeah.
We got to have that.
Let me ask you this: Can we bring it back to the natural for a second, though? Because that's what I really wanted to call about. Because Anthony, since you've been on, you know, talking about CERN stuff, man, you've created your own lexicon out here, and you've really taught a lot of people. And one of the things that I've always been interested in is ley lines, and what I'm interested in is frequency and gluon. And what I'm really interested in is making energy matter and gluon with ancient structures built on ley lines, creating the same effect as CERN.
So, Anthony, get your gluon. What's going on, bud?
Well, the gluon is a force that is binding together quarks, and that's what creates a strangelet or strange quarks. As far as ley lines, those are energy lines that are arranged in a tetrahedral pattern, forming a sphere around the planet itself. And CERN is built on.
So does gluon make energy matter?
No, it isn't. It's really a binding force.
So it's binding. So if an intention is not matter, does gluon create an intention to create reality and matter?
No, not really. It doesn't really relate to thought or to something in that realm. It really has nothing more to do than with particle physics itself. It doesn't get into the metaphysical.
But is that not the whole, like, if I don't look at it, it doesn't exist? Like for example, my garage is messy. I don't look at it, so it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
That's like Schrodinger. That's like Schrodinger's cat thing. It's like, so gluon is binding? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it binds together quarks.
Kind of like real glue.
So it binds your word.
So they call it gluon?
The first thing that happened was the word, right?
Yeah, the word. I was just playing. Gluon is why they call it gluon.
Exactly.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, if the first thing was the word from God, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Gluon is what made us matter.
Right. So
That's what I'm trying to say.
So a little bit of word, a little bit of gluon. A little dab will do you. A little dab of gluon. God was smart. Did a little dab of gluon.
And God's sense of humor.
Once again. Anthony Patch with us on Ground Zero. Get your glue on. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
Portland's a tough town, and it's got a tough radio station. FM News 101.
Anthony and I were just talking about Back to the Future. October 20th, 2015 is the day that Marty McFly goes to the future of Hilldale. And the Cubs win the World Series in 2015. Ready for something weird?
Yeah.
Sportsbook.com has the Cubs with the 6th best odds to win the World Series and 5th among the National League teams. Currently, Chicago is the 3rd National League wildcard team, but they're only 5 games back from the New York Mets, who the Cubs swept in a 4-game series this season.
Break out the DeLoreans.
Yeah. They're already working on their playoff roster for the Cubs. They say they beat Miami. I don't know how that could happen. Those are the Marlins, right? I'm not sure. I haven't been following baseball all that much. Been following, football, but
yeah,
just the idea of the Cubs going to the World Series and winning in 2015 and knowing that Marty McFly lands in Hilldale on October 20th.
Synchronicity.
Yeah, it's weird.
Synchronicity.
And the Hadron Collider, it's all
full
about
power.
That. Full power.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to Nelson in Rhode Island. Hi, Nelson. You're on Ground Zero.
Well, that was, I had a comment and a question. My comment was about it, Back to the Future, that it's Wednesday, tomorrow's date, September 20th. No, you get it wrong. It's September 23rd, 2015.
It's
October. Where they go to the future.
It's October 2015. It's October 20th.
Well, are you sure about that? Because they're releasing tomorrow a whole bunch of Back to the Future stuff to coincide with the date.
No, Marty McFly.
And that was the date that I saw the ad, and that was the date that they said that isn't actually in the movie. Unless they changed it. Maybe they went back and changed it.
No, it's October 20th. I swear it was October. Let me look
they
it up.
claim different. But my question is, the Back to the Future people claim different. But my question is, if this happens, if something happens, will the general populace be aware of it? Or are we just going to go on blissfully, unaware, unless you work in, science? Or will we feel something? Or, will it be noticed?
There should be a large quake, and we should find that there are demonic entities throughout the planet. So we will be seen. It'll be very obvious if we're here.
So the Pope will say, it's all good, it's all good. They're angels?
These are our benevolent ancestors coming back to save us.
Back to the Future Day is October 21st, 2015.
Well, then they're lying, because that's, the ad on TV says that Wednesday, September 23rd. But there's a book out with where a man takes all these iconic movies in history and does the semiotic Illuminati meeting and everything. He breaks them down, and Back to the Future's in there, and he commented on that. And the clock too, where the clock is stuck on the clock tower, the time of the clock.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of predictive programming in that, and if the Cubs win the World Series, then we'll know for sure that there's a bit of predictive programming in the movie.
There you are.
October 21st, 2015 is Back to the Future Day, and tomorrow is supposed to be a doomsday of sorts, but I don't know if it's going to happen. I do know, though, that a lot of cosmic creepiness comes from this program when we're talking to you, Anthony, about the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. I thank you for coming on, encourage you to come on, and you came on. I thank all those who are listening to the program and all the intelligent questions that were formed, and maybe we'll have you on again November, December when the real fireworks begin. We'll find out what's going on there.
It'll be my pleasure. You're my friend. I'll be here if you want me.
Thank you, buddy. You have a great night. And thank you all for listening to Ground Zero. Good night.
FM News 101 KXL.